and welcome to the Sharpshooter. Today, my guest is Justin Wren. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy.
First question, how did you get started with wrestling?
Ooh. So, how old are you, Ollie?
7.
7. So when I was I was twice your age. When I was 14, 15 years old, I started wrestling. And I started wrestling because I grew up and I got very heavily bullied at school. And so I'd sit at the lunch table by myself from 8 years old, a year older than you, and until I was 13 years old. Sometimes kids would be real mean and they would hit me in the back of the head with either food or chocolate milk spitwads or fist. And then I found MMA. I watched it on TV. I got VHS tapes, which you probably don't know about yet, but I got these big hunkin' VHS tapes and I'd watch UFC on it. And my first thought was, I bet these guys don't get bullied. And I had some really great coaches in my life that really cared about youth wrestling. You know who they remind me of? Is Daniel Cormier. They were great guys, and I had a Daniel Cormier poster on my wall whenever I was like 14 years old. And then I started wrestling, and then that helped me get some self-confidence and it gave me a purpose. It gave me a passion. It gave me something to think about other than being bullied at school. And then the bullying stopped, and then I wanted to start doing like MMA, but wrestling was the greatest sport that I've ever known. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great. MMA is great because you combine everything. But wrestling really showed me hard work. And then it translated so well into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It translated really well into MMA because you can control where the fight takes place. You can decide to keep it standing or you can decide to take it to the ground. And I think that's the hardest one to learn. And so if you can learn wrestling, then you can learn boxing and jiu-jitsu, I think maybe a little easier because wrestling is such a hard sport, not just technically, but also like endurance and strength and all that stuff. But that's kind of how I got my start.
Ollie, you do some wrestling, don't you?
Yeah.
My coach is DC.
Your coach is DC? Is he your first wrestling coach?
No.
No.
Well, this is your first club and program he's with.
Yeah.
DC's got some other great coaches.
Sure.
Win.
Oh wow, yeah, I know Durant.
Yeah.
We would. He was on Team Missouri, I think, when I was on Team Texas.
No kidding.
He's a good guy. We were friends.
Yeah.
And so DC, I want you to know, Ollie, just like me, I was so blessed and lucky and fortunate and grateful to have coaches like Kenny Monday and Kendall Cross, who were Olympic gold medalists. They were Olympic gold medalists of the best in the entire world, not just the best in the US. And so for you to have an Olympian and a UFC champion as your coach, you should really just think that's really special. You should tell him thank you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also know his son.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's in the program in the club as well.
His name is Lil Dan.
Yeah, you've met a lot of really great kids and coaches so far. Wrestling's really cool, isn't it, Ollie?
Ollie, tell me one of your favorite things about wrestling.
Live.
Going
Live wrestling? Oh, great. That's my favorite too.
Justin, that's what I think got Ollie really into wrestling, because we were doing jiu-jitsu at first because that's my thing.
Yeah.
And then he just was like that. And then we started doing some wrestling classes. And one day he came up to me and said, wrestling is way more fun. Wrestling, like I like going live.
Yeah.
I want to focus on wrestling. So that's what we did, right, Ollie?
That's so cool. That's where your competitive spirit shows. That's awesome that you got that at 7. I didn't get that until I was 14, 15.
What's your favorite takedown?
Oh, I have 2. Can I tell you a quick story? So my coaches, Kenny Monday and Kendall Cross, told me to write down a goal and to put it somewhere I'd see it every single day. And so they told me, even though I was starting late, I think I actually started wrestling at 15, but they said, even though I'm starting late, put it somewhere, and they promised that if I wrote down state champion and I saw it every day and worked towards that goal, that they would make me a state champion. And so I was ambitious, which means I had big goals and dreams. I wrote down national champion, and I put it above my bed, and I put it on my mirror. So that way, every morning I woke up, I would think about it. And every day I started, when I brushed my teeth, I would think about it. And every day I'd go to sleep, I'd dream about it. And so they told me to get some wrestling moves I loved and to put them beside the goal. So I lost every match by one, or every match my first year of wrestling, except one. And then I won one match by 1 point. And it's kind of because I think the guy slipped and fell, and I fell on top of him. And so I got lucky. But I put a lateral drop on the left of that national champion. And then I put a suplex, a belly to back suplex or souple. And I put that on the right. And so every night I would go to sleep dreaming about it, and I'd visualize about it, and I'd wake up thinking about it. So I did win the state championship actually 10 times in Texas, because I won freestyle, I won Greco, I won folk style, freestyle, Greco. So I won one my freshman year, and then I won all three the next 3 years. And so for the national championship, though, my first national championship I won was with the move on the left, a lateral drop. And then my second national championship I won was with the move on the right, a belly to back suplex. And then for Bellator, my last fight, I got both. I got the lateral drop and I got the suplex in one fight. So those are my two favorites. I'll give you two.
My two favorites are the outside single and the high crotch.
That's awesome, because you're a little guy, and us heavyweights have a hard time doing both those. Or at least this big guy has a hard time doing those too.
Have you seen, you know what a suplex is?
The thing where you slam them.
Yeah,
Like a body slam.
I think you've seen the suplex in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Well,
It's kind of hard to do at a big guy weight, but that's what I was known for. And that's why I got to go to the Olympic Training Center at just 18 years old. And not just I was invited to live there. So and then when I was getting ready for the Ultimate Fighter, DC actually helped me for, I don't know, just a couple weeks. But I was really excited to be able to learn from him, because he is a great coach. I was trying to see if I had a picture for you.
Yeah, we like DC as a coach, don't we, Ollie? Yeah, he's the man.
He's one of the best.
How do you get into MMA?
Well, I transitioned pretty quickly because I went to the Olympic Training Center, and then they changed the rules of Greco-Roman wrestling. They changed the rules when I went there. Instead of 2 3-minute rounds, which was the Olympic style, they changed it to like 3 2-minute rounds. But the first period was 1 minute, and then you got a break, and then you'd wrestle for 30 seconds, and then you got a break, and then you'd wrestle for 30 seconds, and you'd get another break. So there's 3 breaks in every period. So in a match, you'd get like 6, 8, 7, 8, 9 breaks almost. And so that really took an advantage away from the American style of wrestling. Instead of 6 minutes, only 1 break and a short break, they were giving a lot of the Russians and other guys a lot of breaks, because a lot of times they couldn't keep up with our cardio as Americans. And you'd see an American at the Olympic level. So anyways, they changed the rules to where at heavyweight, with all those breaks, it didn't incentivize you getting any takedowns, because they would incentivize the Greco-Roman wrestlers by pushing someone out of bounds. So heavyweight kind of turned into, for 4 or 8 years, kind of turned into sumo wrestling. And it wasn't, it was really hard to think about, oh, I'm just going to wait for 58 seconds. And then I'm just going to try to push a guy out of bounds or let his foot hit out of bounds. So I kind of took away the aggressive style of wrestling that, and gave, like, anyways, I always wanted to fight. instead of wrestle anyways. I got into wrestling because I knew I wanted to fight. So I had this surgery. You can't really see it. I got a tattoo over it now, but I had broke my elbow at the Olympic Training Center. And I was wrestling against a world champion and an Olympic bronze medalist when it happened. But and they told me I'd only have a 30% chance to ever compete again. So when I got that news, I was like, I'm not even getting paid to wrestle. MMA fighters get paid. So I went one more year to Iowa State University, wrestled under a guy named Cale Sanderson. I was a medical red shirt, and he told me to stay. If you don't know Cale, he's 158-0 in college wrestling, never lost.
We actually watched, we watched a match of his not that long ago, and
Wow.
him in DC.
Oh yeah. He did beat DC for the NCAA finals.
Ollie couldn't believe it. Not too many people have Ollie, so that just shows you how special.
Yeah, so to be able to wrestle with him was awesome, and to be able to go in his basement and play video games.
Yeah.
And then I was starting to fight locally, and he was getting ready to leave to Penn State University. And anyways, I just decided not to follow him to Penn State and to not stay at Iowa State. I was more of a Greco-Roman wrestler anyways than a NCAA style or folk style. So I got into MMA, and I thought that Greco, for me at that time, I thought Greco was a great style for heavyweights because of guys like Randy Couture. And if you think about it, it's great to have folk style wrestling. I think that's why so many American fighters have the advantage, because you get to learn how to control somebody, keep them down, get that riding time in, and then translate that to jiu-jitsu. But in Greco-Roman wrestling, you're almost in the same stance as a fight. In folk style, you're so low, and freestyle, you're so low, and you're going after people's ankles. But in a fight, you're standing up tall. And so in heavyweight, underhooks, takedowns with body locks, and then you don't even get inside of somebody's guard in jiu-jitsu. I don't think I've ever been in guard. I think I've always been in side mount or north-south. So it's a good position to, or half guard at the very, I think once or twice in my career.
Who is your favorite fighter?
I think now it's changed. Now it's Dustin Poirier. And Dustin Poirier beat Conor McGregor twice. And he's getting ready for the World Championship on December 11th. I got to be there with him when he beat Conor McGregor this last time. I was with his family in Lafayette, Louisiana, when he beat him the first time. And he's done a lot of incredible things in the world. He started something called the Good Fight Foundation. And they're our friends with my nonprofit, Fight for the Forgotten. And they've donated not just $100,000, but over $200,000 so that we can drill water wells for people in Africa, and that we could build them homes, and that we could buy them land. So he's a fighter in the cage, but he's even more of a fighter in life. He fights for people. He fights a good fight. So I think also he didn't take the easy road. He's a guy that has a saying called paid in full. And I would say that that means all the hard work paid off. He paid it in full. He worked hard for it. No one gave him an easy fight. He also lost, not just once or twice, but he was beat by Conor McGregor the first time. He got knocked out by him. So the second time he came back and he knocked him out. And the third time he came out and he dominated him. So that means he's a guy that earned it. So kind of like DC, Daniel Cormier is probably my second favorite fighter. And it's funny, they're both from Lafayette, Louisiana, but they know how to work hard. And for DC, you know, he might not have, he lost to Cale Sanderson, but he still came back and he was an Olympian. But he never won the Olympic gold, even though he very well could have. And so he got, you know, he would not achieve his goal. And then he got to the UFC. And when he fought for the championship, he lost. But then he came back and he ended up winning and being a legend. So I think that he had a lot of adversity, even personal things that had happened, and lost people that he loved, and he never quit. So those two guys overcome, and because of that, they're my two favorite fighters.
Choices, can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Who do you like, Ollie?
My favorite fighters are DC, Uncle BJ.
That's a good one too.
You.
Me? Yes, thank you. That's awesome.
And Coach Ron.
Cool.
Coach Duran. Oh man.
Not bad choices. Thank you for including me in that list with some legends. And you get to call someone Uncle BJ? That's pretty special.
Tell us about your foundation.
Foundation? Well, it's called Fight for the Forgotten. Stateside, or in the United States, we do bullying and bullying prevention, and also like mental health help. And so we try to help people that are going through depression and addiction and other kinds of thoughts. And so, and then overseas, we've helped drill 80 water wells for kids your age that have never had clean water. So sometimes in the world, children get sick and they might even die if they don't have access to clean water because it's dirty water and they have diseases in there and sickness and parasites and lots of terrible things. So I saw that happen to a young boy. He was only 1.5 years old, and I had to be at his funeral and some other awful things. I actually had to dig his grave. And so that was really, really, really hard for me. That changed my life. I didn't know that children suffer from that. And so now we've helped over 60,000 people from his tribe get access to clean water, so that won't happen to them. We're also building a hospital now. We're getting ready to plan that. So that way, if they need to go to the emergency room, or if they need to deliver babies, or if they need a pediatrics facility for pediatrics for children. So we've also seen 1,651 people transition out of actual slavery and into freedom. A lot of people don't know that they're slaves today. Sometimes at school, they just tell you it was back in the 1600s, 1700s. Maybe it ended in the 1800s or something like that. But it's actually worse than ever in human history, over 40 million today. So we've only made a small impact with 1,600. And then we've built 32 homes for people that really need it. People that lived in twig and leaf huts, meaning that they're instead of brick and wood for the homes, it was like twigs the size of your thumb and then leaves. So if it rained, what happened? They got wet and their fires would go out. Sometimes their beds, the dirt would turn into mud. And so I slept in those twig and leaf huts for a year straight, and about 2 years or more since then. The fire was my blanket and the dirt was my bed. But now we're helping them have homes. So we built 32 two-bedroom homes where they have kitchens and a living room, and they have a patio outside that they can sit on. So yeah, we do a lot of work, but I would say it's land, water, food, housing, medical. It's called community development. We want to help their communities develop into a safer, better place to live.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you get all that, Ollie? Do you have any questions about that?
Maybe. I don't know.
What did you ask me? Community. You said you know what community means, but you wanted to know more about development.
I know what development means, but I don't know what community developing is.
Together. What it means is you go into a community that might be struggling or might be facing poverty, which is like poor, or maybe they're just, they don't have the same things. Like our communities, Ollie, where you live, there's hospitals if you need one, right? If you ever get sick, you can go there. There, they don't have those. Or if you want water, you can go to the sink, or you can go to the fridge. You could give your dog the water, right? And you can use the bathroom in water. A lot of times they don't have water except for the creek or when it rains or in a pond. So we're trying to make sure they have water in their homes We're trying to make sure that their homes are safe and warm. We're trying to make sure that they have farms because they can't go to the market or to the grocery store and buy food. They have to either hunt and kill it or find it in the forest. And so we're helping them with farms to where they can feed themselves in case they can't hunt an animal or find potatoes or mushrooms in the forest. And then, yeah, so we teach them how to do it though. We don't go in there, we just do it for them. We teach them how to do it. So that's development, because if they don't know how to do it and they have to depend on me to fly from the United States to Africa to do it, then that doesn't help them. They've got to know how to do it themselves. So we educate them and we give them the tools.
Wow.
Tell us about living in Africa.
It was one of the most special times of my life. In fact, I would say until I went there, have you ever gone on a trip and gotten homesick? You wanted to just be home?
Yeah.
I don't know. No?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me either. I was never that way until I left Africa and came back to the United States. And then I was homesick for my community there, my friends and family there. So I've only recently experienced it. And now that I'm with Amy, I get homesick also for here now. But yeah, I would say that it was one of the biggest joys of my life because it gave me a purpose. You know what my purpose is, Ollie? My purpose isn't to fight against people, it's to fight for people. And so the way I get to do that is through community development, helping them.
Did you have, oh, here's your,
I have another question.
okay.
All right.
What's your favorite animal from Africa?
Oh, I'm about to maybe teach you something. You ready? You might have seen it at the zoo, but have you ever heard of an Okapi? Sometimes people call it a Okapi.
Did you tell me about this?
Ooh, maybe.
I think you did.
It's a magical, majestic animal. It's kind of like three animals in one.
Yeah, zebra
Yeah.
and giraffe.
Yes, that's it. You got a great memory, buddy. It's got the butt of a zebra, the head of a giraffe, and the body of kind of like a horse or an elk. So it's the only other animal in a Giraffidae family. So it's actually related to giraffes, but they don't look like a giraffe, but they have the little horns. You got to zoom in on pictures to see their horns. And they got these crazy long tongues, but they got.
And wait, you saw these, Justin?
Yeah.
Like of them, or it's just
No, they're endangered. So I think there's 1,000 or less maybe out there.
all, Ollie.
Not many.
So
Maybe
do you know what that means?
They're endangered and people burn.
poaching.
Yeah.
There's poachers. So I got to see.
They also burn down the land for farms and stuff.
Yeah, so they're doing that there. They're cutting the trees down and making the forest kind of more scarce or just not enough of it. And then the Okapi, anyways, I had a poacher try to sell me its meat and its fur. And so that was really, really sad. But yeah, I got to see one in the wild and I've seen some in the zoo. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's also another animal that's mixed up with another animal.
There in Congo? Yeah, there's something called a large spotted Janae. And
Wow.
it looks like it's two in one. It looks like a leopard, but it's related to a mongoose. So it's like this little cat kind of animal that's kind of more like a mongoose, but it's spotted like a leopard.
There's one that's 2 in 1. It's called a liger, I think.
Oh, a lion tiger. Yeah. Did you know that they can't reproduce though? They can only be made with a lion and a tiger, but they can't have babies.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I think there's one that's a wolf and a coyote.
Oh.
And
There's so with a liger, they get bigger, stronger, but they can't have babies. I don't think. It's kind of like a mule, I think, where a horse and a donkey. I forget if mules can reproduce, but I don't think ligers can.
Interesting. All right, here we go. Next one, Ollie.
Why is it important to help others?
Because that's how the world gets better. When we don't help each other, when there's two things to it. One, we don't help ourselves because we're not helping others. But I think also it's kind of, it's sad when people are selfish and they just keep everything for themselves and they're greedy and they are kind of mean. But whenever you put love and compassion in action, I think I've seen that it's contagious. We hear that COVID's contagious, but I really think that love is contagious and helping people is contagious. And the more you do it, the more you want to do it and the more it helps you. So it's kind of this cool cycle of the world that when you help others, it actually comes back and helps you.
In my school this year, I learned about compassion.
Great. That's
Showing
awesome.
kindness.
Cool. Do you Amy just bought a shirt and it says create kindness, because we have awesome opportunities to create kindness in the world and for people.
That's right.
All right. You also do a lot of anti-bullying work, correct?
Correct. I can send you a video to your dad. We did something for this young man named Raiden, who has a couple of disabilities, where he was born deaf in his right ear. He has autism, or he's on the spectrum. And anyways, it's something that he couldn't help. And some reason, kids at school beat him up. They beat him up in the bathroom at the urinal. He was at the urinal. He was at the bathroom, and they beat him up. And then the next day they beat him up at the bus stop. So the next day I was with him, and I took him to the doctor. He got diagnosed with a concussion, which was really sad. But then we helped him. We took him from Oklahoma. We took him to a Bellator fight at WinStar, which was awesome. And then we had him ringside. We took him backstage. I think he was one of the first young guys, I've never seen it in all my career, where not just after the fight, but before the fights, all the fighters, they were taking pictures with him. And the cutmen, they wrapped his hands. Me and Rafael Lovato Jr., the undefeated Bellator MMA champion, we got to walk around with him. We got to sit ringside with him. He got to go inside the cage after a fight. It was awesome. And then all the fighters were telling him that so they announced that he was there on TV, and he got a standing ovation where everyone was clapping for him. And then they said that he was the main event of the evening, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then after that, we took him to Disneyland, and then we took him to Medieval Times, and he got knighted. And then we took him to an LA Rams game, and he got to be on the field with the players during the game. And then he got to start movies or scenes for CBS, SEAL Team, a TV show. And then the TV show wrote him in as a character, where they wrote in Raiden as a character in the show. He wasn't in the show, but he was honored in the show. And then we got to take him surfing for the first time. And then a couple weeks ago, he's been doing jiu-jitsu now 2 years at Rafael Lovato Jr. school. And then a month ago, he came down to Austin for my podcast to release. And but Sunday, we had Sunday sparring, and he got in there with me. And it was the first time he's ever done boxing, and it was with me. And so he was just charging for it. He's a heavyweight. He's as big as I am.
Wow. Isn't that cool? Ollie,
So
do you have bullies in your school?
It's a 6th or 4th grade.
Older kids?
And I think his name is Hudson.
It's okay. You don't have to call them out, but you know who they are, and you know how it's not. It's just not a nice thing to do, right? To bully kids.
I got a picture today from someone that I really love, and I love their daughter. And we've been out to dinner with them, and I've done a lot. I've been to Thanksgiving with them, Christmas with them, and this app called Snapchat. Some girls at her school were posting pictures of them with her family, and they were saying like, mom, a winner, dad, a winner, daughter, a loser. And I was like really hurt seeing that, you know, that her school is posting that about her. And so hopefully I get to go up there next month and speak to the whole school about anti-bullying and how it's not nice. But here's the one thing that's the most cool thing. They say that bullying happens at least 87% of the time in front of other students. Well, they say that almost 9 out of 10 times when someone's a bystander, sees it happening, hears it happening, whenever they stand up and they intervene, now they go from being a hero in waiting to a hero in action. Ollie, did you know that heroes don't need superhuman powers? They don't need a cape. They don't need supernatural strength. All they need is a kind heart. So whenever someone goes and says something as simple as, hey, that's not kind, it actually will stop the bullying almost 9 out of 10 times in about 5 to 10 seconds. So what a bully thinks is that anyone hearing or seeing it and they stay silent, what they take that as, the psychology, is that they're a silent supporter. But whenever someone says something, then all of a sudden the bully doesn't know what to do most of the time. And they're like, uh-oh, I'm being confronted. Uh-oh, I'm caught. Uh-oh, this isn't good. Uh-oh, this isn't nice. This isn't kind. So most of the time they stop. 1 out of 10 times they might not, but 9 out of 10 times they will.
Wow. Do you understand, Ollie? So let's say you're at school and you see a kid getting bullied. What can you do to help? And what Justin just mentioned, what's a really good way to do it?
Interrupt.
Sure. What could you say?
Sometimes you could ask the person who's being bullied to play with you, and then the person that's being the bully will stop.
And
yeah, you can do that, because sometimes bullying can be as simple as someone being excluded, like how I had to sit at the lunch table by myself. I didn't feel good whenever people wouldn't let me sit at their table. So if you saw a kid at your school that was sitting alone, you know what you could do? You could tell them, come sit with me.
Yeah.
Or come play with me if you're on the playground and they're alone. But another way to do it is if someone's saying something not nice, you could say, hey, that's not nice. And then you could look at the one that's being bullied and say, hey, come over here with me. And then all of a sudden you confronted the bully and the person that's the victim being bullied. You just invited them to come be with you. Because if we think about Africa real quick, a lot of times the lion, if there's a herd of, like, let's say buffalo, if there's a weak one, a small one, a young one, they go after that one that's alone, that's behind, can't keep up with the crowd. So kind of like bullies, they're almost like lions, where they'll go after the weaker, or the one that's alone, or the one that's younger, or the one that's smaller. And so they're basically, what that means is there's strength in numbers. So if you see somebody that's that's alone, you get them to come in your group. Or if you ever feel alone, you just go try to find a group that will allow you to be in there. And everyone is normally nice. There's more nice people than mean people. So you just try not to be alone. Be with friends. Be with your wrestling group. Be with whoever you're with.
that's great advice. Remember, Ollie, your first day of wrestling, it was very hard, right? It was very intimidating. And you were alone and scared, and you had good teammates that came to help you, right? Invited you to come on the mat, be comfortable. You can be that positive influence too for kids at your school, right? All right, cool. All right, here we go.
And in the animal world, when Arctic wolves come, I forget what they're called. I think they're musk oxes. They the little ones always stay in a circle, because the big musk oxes have the bigger horns to, like, attack the Arctic wolves.
And they protect them. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's really cool is we can all be protectors.
Yeah.
We can all do that, because when people stay silent, it's normally not good. Whenever you team up, when you link up arm in arm, or you put your arm around somebody that feels alone, they feel supported. They feel loved. It's just something nice to do.
What
right.
is your message to the kids out there?
I would say, be a sharpshooter. You know what that means to me? It means when you have an opportunity, kind of like a sharpshooter, where you're like, you get something in your crosshairs, you get a focus. Whenever someone comes into your crosshairs, you can be a sharpshooter of love or kindness, meaning that's your opportunity to make a difference. So be a sharpshooter. Have your head on a swivel, looking to make a difference. And when you get that opportunity, take it. Make sure that you go for it.
Wow, that's awesome. Any
Just like in wrestling, whenever you're looking for the opportunity to shoot in and take them down. Now you take that into life, and you get an opportunity to make a difference. You shoot in. You take your opportunity. That way you can do something nice.
that's awesome. What did you say, Ollie?
Thank you.
Well, now I know. Well,
Yeah.
I know you've been waiting to show Justin this. We heard you're into Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here you go, Ollie. Well,
Look at that. Show me the handle. Can you put that real close to the camera? Whoa, that's cool. That looks magical.
There's one more thing that
Awesome. I got to last story before I got to go, Ollie, is that I got to go to Scotland. Do you remember who the author is of Harry Potter?
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. I got to go to the cafe where she started writing the books. I got to go to Diagon Alley, the real street. I got to see it in real life.
Or do you
Not
mean
just
private drive?
What's that?
Or do you mean private drive?
I think it was the inspiration for Diagon Alley. It's got all the different colors and the stores, and I got to go in there and see all that. And then all the fans of Harry Potter, they would write in the bathrooms like their favorite quotes and their favorite, or on the walls, not just the bathrooms, but on the walls, they would draw their favorite characters and stuff like that. So it was pretty neat.
yeah, we'll have to do that one day, Ollie.
That'd be awesome. It's in Edinburgh.
And
Yeah.
I also have something else that I
Well-
didn't get from Harry Potter land, but
Yeah.
is it something Harry Potter?
Whoa, that's awesome.
That's a snitch.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Justin, thanks for your time. We know you're
Yeah, absolutely.
busy. What did we say, Ollie?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Guess what I get to do now?
Well,
I get to go to a play with the three favorite ladies in my life. I get to go to see something called Into the Woods.
Oh,
So maybe if we see a stick or something, we can make it into a wand.
awesome. That's awesome. You guys have fun. Thanks,
Thank
Justin.
you. Yeah, I appreciate it so much.
bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Ollie. Bye, Rich. You're the man.
Bye.
Bye.